Hey, I'm Jeff, and this is Clutch City Chatter. Well, how about them Astros? Finally able to beat the last place Oakland Athletics. That was nice to see this weekend, sweeping the A's at home in Houston, three straight games, and really none of them were very close. Well, the first game was a little bit close, but Astros won all three. That's all that counts. And in watching those three games, there's a lot to be excited about for the Astros. A lot of good things going on now. I'll tell you the thing that I'm most excited about, I was so pleasantly surprised to see, and that I think will pay the biggest dividends for the Astros for the remainder of the season and definitely going into the playoffs, is the play of Alex Bregman. The dude is back. Over the last 7 days, Bregman is hitting 474 with 3 home runs and eight RBIs. And the way I can tell that this is more than just a hot streak is also his defensive play. The guy is moving. Alex is making the kind of plays he was making in 2017 and 2019 and that you haven't seen the last couple of years. In 2017 and 2019, on defense, he was very aggressive. He was charging balls and throwing home on plays that you wouldn't expect a play to be made at home. And the last couple of years, he's just been an average, barely an average defender. Uh, but but in the last 7 days to 2 weeks, he is playing defense again the way at an all-star caliber, well above average. And that's so good to see. And that's how I know his offensive output isn't just a fluke or a hot streak. He's playing like he's finally completely healthy. And one another way to notice that is if you've watched him the last couple of years, yeah, he'd hit some home runs. He'd hit 15 or so home runs each year. But those home runs, were just barely clearing fences. And most of his base hits were just kind of weak, uh, not solid. Most of his base hits the last couple of years have been weak contacts, just kind of finding holes. He was not driving the ball with power all over the field. In the last 7 days, especially, he is hitting with power. His at least two of his home runs in the last 7 days have hit the railroad tracks at Minute Maid Park. So he's not just clearing the wall into the Crawford boxes. These were over 400-foot home runs. So he's hitting with power. He's driving the ball. So Bregman, offensively is getting it done once again. He's finally put it all together the last couple of weeks now, offensively and defensively. It had kind of become somewhat a little bit of a joke the last couple of years for Alex to bat third and or fourth, and that's what the Astros have been doing. And as he just really wasn't, meeting the expectations of a three-hole hitter or a cleanup hitter, and they were just kind of giving him that basically out of past reputation, letting him stay there. But now he's finally earned those spots to hit behind Jordan and before Tuck. So Alex is leading the league in walks, and that's good. That's always a positive. But that also tends to mean that you're not being all that aggressive at the plate. And so when a batter's not aggressive, that's a pretty good sign that they've lost some confidence, and also that they know that they're just not hitting with power. So might as well take a walk instead of try to get a base hit for a single. And so he's hitting with power again. He's driving the ball, and that is so good to see, and it's going to really pay dividends over the rest of the season and definitely going into the playoffs. A second positive thing to take from this weekend series is King Tuck's play. In Kyle Tucker's career, he has always been a poor July player. Offensively, his numbers have been terrible in July. So he's always glad to see August come, and seems to be no different this year. Over the last 7 days, Kyle Tucker has batted .375 with 2 home runs and 9 RBIs. And you know, he's had a pretty aggravating, frustrating. And so the last 7 days, Kyle Tucker is batting .375 with 2 home runs, 9 RBIs, and a slug of .750. So he's I think turned it around, and I expect good things, good numbers offensively the remainder of the year. He's still, his season numbers aren't going to be as good as some of the previous seasons, but hopefully, and with just a tad bit of luck, he'll reach 30 home runs. About 40 games left. He should be able to get to 30 home runs and 100 RBIs. And his batting average, you know, maybe .270 if he's lucky. And that's not bad at all. And of course, he's playing an elite right field. I think he'll probably win the Gold Glove for right field this year. While I'm talking about good things offensively, I can't forget about Yuli. Yuli has been playing good offense, and his defense has improved too. It's funny how sometimes those two things go hand in hand. Some of the great players don't let their offensive struggles affect their defense, but most players do let that happen. And so when Yuli's offensive numbers have been picking up, so has his defense. He's made some remarkable plays in the last 7 days. And then in the last 7 days, his batting average is .316. So that's really good to see. You know, he's not going to be just a hole, first base offensive hole anymore. With Yuli batting .316, things have come around, and that's a great sign. And oh, hey, I'd been saying all along that I think Trey Mancini needs to be playing left field so that you can keep Yuli in the lineup and Jordan a designated hitter and play Mancini in left field. And lo and behold, one of the games against Oakland, the Astros played Mancini in left field. He made all of the necessary plays that were, you know, his attempts at plays. He made all of them successfully. There were no hiccups or anything. So he showed me, and hopefully he showed Dusty, that he can play left field. And over the last 7 days, Mancini is hitting .308. It's a good thing that these guys that I mentioned have turned it around offensively and are on a hot streak, because a couple of our mainstays, a couple of our big studs, Jordan and Altuve, have gone ice cold. So we needed some guys to pick up the slack offensively. Especially for Altuve. Altuve's batting .190 in the last 7 days. I don't believe he has any home runs. In fact, he hasn't hit a home run in over a month now. And Jordan's hitting .250, which, you know, not horrible, but certainly not Jordan-like. Over the last 7 days, he's had 1 home run. And so while he was on a pace to easily reach 40 or possibly even 45, it looked like earlier in the season, now he's going to have a hard time reaching 40. The Astros pitching staff continues to dominate. On Saturday, Lance McCullers Jr. proved that it's true, the rich just get richer, when he made his return for the Astros. McCullers threw 6 shutout innings, needing 81 pitches to do so. He had 4 double plays, and he had 5 strikeouts. In 6 innings, McCullers only gave up 2 hits, which led the A's manager Mark Kotsay to say that was vintage Lance McCullers. Kotsay went on to tell reporters after the game, he said, "I remember him before he was hurt. What he did to us, his breaking ball is one of the best in the game. We saw that tonight with a couple of lefties that he struck out looking with it. And it's got enough life in the fastball to keep you honest. For his first start back, he threw the ball really well. So what a wonderful sign for Lance and the Astros. The Astros have stated they're going to stick with a 6-man rotation, which means each starter should get about 7 starts the remainder of the year. At this point in the season, the Astros have shown that they pretty much have the best starting rotation in baseball. And then you add Lance McCullers to it, and it just strengthens it and it lengthens it. So with 40 games left in the season, you have Justin Verlander, of course, leading the way with 15 wins and a 1.85 ERA, which is unbelievable. Following Justin, you have Framber Valdez, fabulous Framber, who's sitting at 2.73 ERA, another unbelievable ERA. Follow that up with Christian Javier at 2.96. This is just unreal, man. Then Lance McCullers, of course, is just 1 start. But last year, the entire year, he was second in the league in lowest ERA. And so now with 1 start, he's got a 0 ERA. So it's just unreal. Then your 5th starter is Jose Urquidy at 3.85 ERA. Every one of them under 4. There were days that teams didn't have a pitcher pitch under 4. An entire staff couldn't have a under 4 ERA. So then your 6th starter, who's still above average, but his ERA is 4.03. With 7 starts remaining, I expect Cha-Cha Garcia to definitely get his ERA under 4. And then you've got a 6-man rotation, every one of them pitching with an ERA under 4. I don't know if in the history of baseball you've had a team that has 6 starters with an ERA under 4. So I've been saying all along that I expect the Astros to move Christian Javier to the bullpen, especially come playoff time. Now I'm having a little change of heart on that because the last 2 starts for Javier have been back to very impressive. Prior to that, he'd had a handful of starts that were less than stellar. If he maintains the standard of above average starting, then I wouldn't be surprised for the Astros to keep him in the rotation, and him or Lance become your number 3 and number 4 starters in the playoffs, and you move Urquidy and Garcia to the bullpen. If Christian starts to falter in his last 7 starts, I wouldn't be surprised then if the Astros decide to move him to the bullpen, because I know in the past he's been very successful coming out of the bullpen. So it'll be really interesting to watch Christian Javier and see how his last 7 starts go. Hopefully it'll be good, because when he's on, he's one of the best. Has proven, he's pitched a no-hitter. Well, he pitched 7 1/2 or 7 2/3 innings of no-hit ball against the Yankees. All right, and so with 40 games left in the season, the Astros are 2.5 games in front of the Yankees. And some people have been concerned all of a sudden, thinking, well, maybe the Astros would be better off the number 2 seed. Because if the playoffs started right now as the number 1 seed, the Astros would be playing either the winner of the number 4 and 5 seed, which is Toronto and Seattle. And the hot talk is that the Toronto Blue Jays would present the biggest challenge to the Astros returning to the World Series. And so the way things stand right now, they may be facing Toronto in the second round of the playoffs. Whereas if they were to drop down to the number 2 seed, they would play the winner of Tampa Bay and Cleveland. That's a better matchup for the Astros. But I'm of the opinion that you need to just continue playing good baseball and not worry really about where you're standing, because you don't want to get into a cold streak come the playoff time. So if you're playing good ball going in, you should be confident that you can beat pretty much any team, and you'll have the home field advantage over everybody, including the Yankees. And of course, us Astro fans can hold over the Yankee fans that once again the Astros have beaten the Yankees. The most important spot going into the playoffs, home field advantage throughout. So I think the Astros are definitely also of that opinion that they need to just keep winning. And having the number one seed is a good thing, not a bad thing. And you're going to have to beat the best team, the second best team, I should say, in the American League. So it doesn't matter if it's the New York Yankees or the Toronto Blue Jays or Seattle Mariners, whatever. You're just going to have to keep winning. And if you end up having to face the Dodgers in the World Series, it looks like you will not have home field advantage. If you end up facing the Mets, you will have home field advantage. So that's all I've got for this episode of Clutch City Chatter. Thanks for tuning in. Please be sure to hit like and subscribe. And I will see you next time. And remember, swing for the fences.